Hello everyone, I hope you're having a wonderful day. Today I'll be showing you how to create a parallax effect with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Okay, before we get started, let me show you what our finished product will look like. We'll be working on an Apple page that I designed on Figma. First, I usually find it easier to start the process in Figma designing my web page here than moving on to coding it in Visual Studio Code. So this is what I'll be working with. And when we scroll, these images will appear to move faster than this one. So let me show you what our finished product will look like. And as we scroll, you see the parallax effect right there. Alright, let's get started on this. So to begin, create an empty folder, name it whatever you want. I named mine Parallax Tutorial, and place it on the editor of choice. Mine is Visual Studio Code. So let's begin with the index.html file. And let's add the boilerplate needed for every HTML file. A quick shortcut of using Visual Studio Code is Shift!Enter. That'll give you all the boilerplate you need to get started. Let's change the title real quick to Parallax Effect. And set up some of our HTML. Just to have something in here, and put an H1 tag. Hello. Let's add a few extra things. Let's link our style sheet. And let's bring in our link to our favy icon, which will be the old Apple logo. If you're wondering where I'm bringing in this code from, I created the project earlier just to speed up the process and avoid any hiccups. Alright, now that we have that, let's open Lightserver and see if everything's up and running. There you go, hello. Bring that over here. The next step is to add our styles folder, which will hold our style.css file. Let's create that folder now, called styles, and add a style.css file. .css. There you go. For this, let's do what we always do for any project, remove all the padding and the margins. If you've seen any tutorials by mine before, you know that I always get started with this by removing all the padding and the margins of the elements to style them according to the way you want. And let's add box sizing, border box. Alright, if you don't know, this is a universal selector, which just allows you to add style to every element in your HTML right here. Alright, and let's make a few things to our body also. We're gonna have a background color. Just to speed up the process, I'll bring that in. A background color of gray and a font color of black, and the overflow will be hidden, and our family will be Apple Garamond Light, which is the old Apple font from the 80s to 2004 before they changed. Let me link that also. You'll be importing the font from fonts.cd fonts. Okay, now that that's saved, let's open that up. You see the font changed? The first thing we'll be working on is our navigation. So let's do that. And before we start working on our navigation, let's create our images folder, which will hold all the images we'll be using for this project. Images. And let me bring in all the images we'll be using. Okay, this is 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are all the images we'll use in this project. So our header should be pretty simple to make. Let's create our header with a class name of new header. But we don't want it to be a div, so we want it to be a header semantics tag. This allows for better navigation and semantics when our website is crawled on Google. So we'll give this a class name of new header so we can style it later. And inside our header, we'll have another semantic tag, will be navigation for our navigational links. And within our nav, we'll add an unordered list which hold all the links to our pages. We bring that in to speed up the process. So we'll have an unordered list with 1, 2, 3, 4 list items with anchor tags inside them so they'll be clickable. So now that we have our header, let's save that and take a look. Boom, home, shop, about. Now we have to do is style this according to how we want. And let's begin to style that in our style CSS file. So let's target our header section. Let's first add right there. Let's add that so we can know what we're working with. And let's target the class new header and the nav. We'll target this header class and the nav within it to style that. And we'll work on that new header. Let's target the nav. We want it to have a width of 100%, take up the whole size. We want it to be display flex so it can align horizontally instead of its natural position, which HTML gives it, which is vertically. Let's take a look. This should fix that. And let's justify content center so it can align center and align the items center. Give some padding on the left, 40 pixels, and padding on the right, also 40 pixels. And some padding top, which will be 24 pixels. I usually like working with spacing of 8s. So let's say you have padding 8, 16, 24, 32, 40, 64, and so on. And now let's work on the list item and remove those underlines. All right, let's target the new header nav li. Unordered list, my bad. We want to remove the list style and display flex. There you go. Now it's where we want it. Now we just have to give the LIs a bit of padding to give them some space. These LIs, we need some padding, and remove the underlines from the anchor tags. So let's target the new header, the nav, and the LIs within it. Add padding 10 pixels, font size 16 pixels. And next, let's remove the underline from our LI and anchor tags. So let me bring that over. So we're targeting a new header, the nav, the LI, the list item, and the anchor tag within it. And we want to remove the underlines and make the text uppercase and change the font color. So let's save that, and our header should be exactly how we want it now. There you go. Perfect. There you go. Now we have to work on our hero section. Now we have our header. Next step is the hero section. The hero section will be one div holding the welcome to art, this paragraph H1P and an image, and we'll display flex direction column so they could all be aligned straight up. And then we'll position absolute this image on the left and position absolute this one on the right to move them wherever we want. So now let's get started on making that. So to speed up time, I'll bring in the hero section and explain to you what it is. So we're bringing in the div. We created a div with a class name hero section, and within that div we have an H1 with the welcome to art live with a class name stagger1, a P tag with a class name stagger2, which is that, and then we brought in the image, which is wrapped in a div since we're gonna give it some styles later, in the image of Steve Jobs. Save that, and we should have all the stuff we wanted. Welcome to art and life, the Steve Jobs section, and the picture. We're gonna style that now to look how it looks here. But before we get started with that, let's bring in those images to the left and to the right also. No, you know what? That's gonna mess up how it looks, so let's just style that real quick first. Sorry about that. So let's start working on our hero section. This should be pretty easy to style. Bam, our hero section. We want it to have a margin top of 24 pixels so it can be separated. We want it to display flex direction. As I told you earlier, is column, so it could be vertically instead of horizontally. We want them to align in the center and to be justified in the center. And position relative, since our two images will be position relative to this hero section. So let's save that, and they should all be in the middle. There you go. Now all we gotta do is fix the font size, the margin, and the sizing for all this, which shouldn't be too hard to look like this. To speed up the process, I'll bring in the style we already created for the hero section H1, which is this hero section right there, H1. We're giving that the font family Apple Garmont, font size 150 pixels. We want the text to be uppercase, line height 90%. We want it to be aligned the center, font weight semi-bold, and Z index 99. If you don't know, the Z index property specifies the stack level of the box in the current stacking context. And to explain that in simple terms, it just tells this hero section H1 to be stacked on top of everything that is under the Z index of 99. Let's save that, and the text should look how we want it. Boom. Almost there. Let's just fix that P and image. So for that, we'll do the same thing. We'll target the hero section, but now the P tag. We want it also to be aligned center. We want the width to be only 50%, since we don't want it to take up all its div content. We want it just to take up 50%, which will make it take up around here to here. We want it to have some margin top of 24 pixels to separate it from the H1. Our font family will be the same. Line height 150%, which is good for typography. It follows the basic typography principles that you should all follow, which is your P tag should have a line height between 130% and 150, depending on your font size. Usually when I use font size 16 pixels or 18, I go with the 150%. So let's save that, and it should look just how we want it. There you go. The only problem with that now is that the font weight is a little bit too much. Boom. There you go. Next thing to do is style our hero image. We want a margin top of 60 pixels to give it some spacing. We're going to give it a minimum width of 700 pixels and a max height of 300 pixels. And we want the object fit cover so it could look perfectly in the center of the image, so it won't look stretched. Boom, there you go. Welcome to art and life. Have it just the way we want it. And the last thing to do is to add the image to the left and the image to the right. Both will be positioned absolute and moved to the perfect positions. So let's get started on that. Let's add that image left, which will be in a div called image left. Let's add that image. I'll bring it over from the finished project to save some time. Right there. And for those that don't know, a shortcut to create a div with a class name is you push period, then you put the name you want, image dash left, dash right, and then enter again, and you get what you wanted. Let's save that over, just to speed up the process, bring that over. Boom, now we have the image left and the image right. Let's save that and take a look. Image left, image right. Now we gotta do is position them absolute to move them up here and change the width of the images, which shouldn't be too hard. Okay, so let's first work on the image left. We're gonna give it position absolute, top 450 pixels, left 60 pixels. That should move it up and to the left a bit. That's where we wanted it. Let's just change the sizing and rotate the image. To speed up the process, I'll bring over the code. We want the image left and the image right there. Max, we're changing its max width to 200, its max height to 300 pixels. And this transform property will rotate the image by 16 degrees. We want the Z index -1, so it could be behind the text, and the width 100%, so it could be responsive. Boom, right there. Just like that. The next step is to do the same to the right image. Since the code will be almost exactly identical, I'll just bring that in to speed up the process. There you go, image right. Almost identical, just the top is a little bit different, so we want it to be a little bit higher up, and the width is exactly the same. Max width, we just made it a little bit thicker, and the max height, which is the same, and everything's the same. So let's save that. There you go. Everything's how we want it. Our HTML, our CSS, and our style is done. And our next step is to add the animation, which we will use GSAP for to make the parallax effect. All right. We will be doing that in the part 2 of this video.